Hi friends, Dean here with Escape to Gaming. It's been quite a while since I've done a video. Been busy with life, dealing with family and with my new job, which has been going really well. Putting a lot of hours in and the money's great. Where I was out of work for so long with that back surgery, it's nice to get back to work and, getting my savings up, especially in this, economic time we're in right now, which is the worst I've seen it. I lived through the 70s inflation, and I thought that was bad, watching my parents go through it and watching my mother pick and choose what she could buy at the grocery store and what she couldn't. Or sitting with my dad on odd or even days, depending on our license plate number, where we have to wait in the gas line. So my dad traded a Chevy in for a little Datsun 510 wagon so he could afford to drive to work and back. It was tough times back then, and I've seen many generations of rough periods, economically, but this is the worst I've ever seen it. Now, this talk isn't so much about economics in America or the world, but it's more about as it relates to gaming and trends that I'm seeing in gaming now that I think are frankly decimating the hobby. And you always hear these voices, oh, gaming has always been expensive, retro collecting and gaming, and we've always had these issues, and I say no, that's not true. There are times in life where things aren't, or not everything is morally equivalent to where, oh, we've always had hard times, or cars have always been expensive. True to a certain degree, but we're also in a time where we're seeing escalations in inflation and prices. Now, some of this came on because of the COVID thing. All of a sudden, people are home, and now they're buying, God, I'm stuck at home here, or maybe I'm working from home, or maybe I'm out of work because the business I was forced to shut down thanks to these COVID mandates that really, frankly, just tanked the country, if not the world. And so it's been a very tough time, and I've been watching trends happen because I have my own goals, goals about my saving up for my retirement, goals with, my cars and trucks and vehicles. I've had to make some hard decisions, because of this, because I'm not going to lose my money. I don't go out and buy expensive lunches at $12, $15 a day and $6, $7 coffees every morning and energy drinks for $5. I mean, you can spend $30, $40 a day just, getting a pack of cigarettes and, if you smoke, not that anyone smokes anymore, but, or getting your, expensive Starbucks coffee and all this crap. I mean, you're just throwing your money away. And even though the dollar is not as valuable as it was just 2 years ago, or even a year or so ago, we're seeing, thanks to this new appropriated administration it's taking like an SR-71 jet and putting it full throttle straight down, right into the ground. I have never seen an economic decline near as bad as what we're going through, probably since 1929, since the Great Depression. This is bad, and we're just on the verge of a huge recession. So part of this is kind of a warning to be careful with your money, because I've lived through this stuff before. I watched my folks go through it, like I mentioned. I've had to go through it in '89. We had the big S&L savings and loan scandal. Very similar to what happened in 2008, and I survived that and went through the tail end of the 80s into the 90s, and we finally came out of that. We had prosperity in the end of the 90s and up into the early to mid 2000s, and then tanked again in 2007 and 8. And it took us years to get back. Just a year ago, we were economically sound here in America. We were actually the #1 exporter of energy, natural gas and oil. But thanks to unicorns and fairies and rainbows and people that make a religion out of climate change, whether you believe it's true or not, frankly, there's actually more scientists that say that a lot of it is over exaggerated than there are scientists that are trying to get grants, so they have to say the politically correct thing to get the grants. And so a lot of them appear that they're all on board with this climate change. But anyway, that's another story. And I'm all for being careful with the environment. We certainly have changed things with smog regulations on cars to where cars are burning cleaner. And I've seen LA cleaned up. The air in Los Angeles today is not near as bad as it was in the 80s. So we're making strides, and I'm all for those strides, and I paid the price, even with my own vehicles, towards better air quality, and I think that's important. So I'm not an anti-environmentalist. I love protecting animals, I love protecting the environment, but not at the expense of a first world nation becoming last. Instead of America first, now we're America last. And everyone wants to put this globalist kind of mindset, or the reset era, as some have called it, into effect. And I'm not a big one for it. But all of this is what I'm getting to, is that we're in a really tough economic time. And it's going to get worse. You think gas is expensive now? Just give it a year. We're going to see things go way up in price. And thankfully, I've got a very fuel-efficient vehicle to drive, so I don't have to worry about that. But it's tough. I've had to really make decisions to where I don't go out that often. I wait, and I may go out once a week and kind of string all my errands together and kind of plan out my little drive, and that's it. And I'll hit the GameStop, last on the way back from getting my hair cut and going to Costco and loading up on some of our supplies. And so you have to be more careful with your money, and which is good advice for everyone out there. But as it relates to gaming, and as I've been really hyper-focused on getting the games and strategy guides and things that I want, backup consoles and what have you, things that I want to wrap up my gaming collection for the most part. I'm always going to find and discover new games and be excited about trying to get those games and add them to my library. And that's important, that we keep growing, with our collections. And anyone that knows my channel and knows my stance on my collection personally, I'm not into collecting every Xbox game or every 360 game. I just go after the genres and the franchises that I like, and I focus on those, and then the rest of it takes care of itself. But I found a lot of new games that I see my friends enjoying, and I go, I could see myself enjoying that, and I'll buy that. I'll spend the $7 for that game, or $12, or even $20 for a used video game, if I think someday I could sit down and enjoy that to the same degree that my friends did that recommended it. And I get a lot of great recommendations from you, which I appreciate, by the way. But this is really a tough economic time, and I'm tying this all in with my own collection goals. I just, a week ago, went through all my video games that I still want for the GameCube and the PlayStation 2 and the original Xbox and the 360 and PlayStation 3, and I've revised those lists. Really looking hard at them. Do I really need this game? Do I really want it? So what I did is I have a list of games that I'm pretty sure 90% that I want or would like to have if I come across them. Frankly, I have probably 96% of the games that I want, maybe even more, 96, 97%, pretty much most of them with a few exceptions. There's like 2 or 3 original Xbox games I really want to add badly to my collection. The other 9 or 10, if I get them, fine. If not, it's not the end of the world. And that's kind of how I prioritize them. I rewrote the list and streamlined them, and maybe shaved off a few here and there that I could live without that. Or frankly, I need to wrap this up. But I put little stars by the ones that are high priorities. You saw my last video was about collecting strategy guides. In fact, yours is one that I just got recently for free from my father-in-law, my mother's husband, who played this game several times, and he gave this to me as a gift recently because he knew I was looking for it. Well, this is now over $100 on eBay. You can spend well over $100 to $150 for this guide. Why? I think it was probably they're remastering them for the PlayStation 4. Back then, everyone was making a run for these. Now, you can get the Uncharted 2 and 3 a lot more affordably, but these games and guides are going up, and some of them are going way up. I just watched a little video this morning on the game The Thing that I have for the original Xbox. It's a great game. In fact, I just got that strategy guide for that game. And it's a game I almost bought back in the early 2000s. I saw it at the video store not long after it had come out, and I could have got it with the guide, and it looked really good. I meant to get it, and I just never got around to it. Well, eventually I bought the game for about, I think, $7.99 or $9.99. Like, it was $10 or less. Not very much, but mint, in good condition, like I got all my games. Back then they were cheap, Back in 2013, 14, 15. All of those games, you could get them for $6, $10, $12 all day long for original Xbox games and PlayStation 2 games. Today, that game for the Xbox is about $20 on average, and about $40 to $50 for the PlayStation 2 port, which is frankly not as good as the original Xbox port, which is crazy to me. So the games are going up. And if I had to buy the games I have now, the 200 and some odd original Xbox games now, my God, I hate to think it would be thousands. Probably more than double or 3 times at least what I've paid for them. So for those that say, oh, gaming's always been expensive and retro collecting's always been pricey, well, no, not like this, not to this degree. Combination of COVID, the government printing money, trillions and trillions of dollars. We'll just create more money for more programs. And what they're doing is they're tanking the economy for the middle class and the lower class people like us that work hard for wages. I work physically hard. I'm 59 years old. I was just last week climbing 28-foot ladders, painting an exterior in the sun, and I've got a deadline to get that thing done by the end of the week. It got done. It came out perfect. You feel a sense of accomplishment when it's done, but man, I work my ass off. So for the little bit of money, what was at one time was good money 10 years ago is almost like average money now. Because it cost me, I had my quarter of a tank in my truck, it cost me $80 to fill up the other 3/4 of the tank. So from if it was completely empty, who knows, $100 and something to fill it up, maybe 120, I don't know. Probably a lot of money. And I got to put premium in mine, which is, when I bought that truck, not that long ago, when the other administration was in power, gas was about $2.79 for premium. So I wasn't too worried about it. But of course now that's like doubled, Thanks again to this crooked administration that just is doing the opposite of logic. Their God is the climate change, and they're going to bow down to the green God and kill off the whole oil company across the nation, which is what fuels this country. It's what fuels the world. If we have to go to war, what do you think powers these giant gas-guzzling battleships and destroyers and task force in the Navy and aircraft? You want to talk about fuel, and in the last president replenished the whole our national reserves, filled them all up, stockpiled the military. That's what you do. You build your savings account. You prepare for a rainy day. This administration doesn't care about that. They just want to just live for today, and they live in this hope for tomorrow, and we're all going to pay the price for it, sadly. But I think things will turn around. People are kind of seeing what's really going on, and I think we're going to see a huge shift pretty soon with politics. And eventually we'll get someone in charge again that knows how to run an economy and knows how to put this country first, to where we can not only help ourselves but help other nations as well, as the humanitarians that America is known for. But getting back to games with this, I've just been thinking a lot about money and thinking a lot about my collection, and I'm already looking at, there's certain game, like I was going to get a hardbound copy of the Red Dead Redemption 2 strategy guide, slash art book, whatever. Well, now it's $100 to $250 on eBay. I can no longer afford that. Now I can get the paperback one at maybe $70, $76, $80. I've seen one as low as $65. That's still a lot of money. I can get a lot of guides with $65 or $70. Now, ironically, my next shipment of guides is much bigger than the last one, and it frankly will complete all of my guides with the exception of one, which I'm going to look for last. I'm saving that one for last, and it could be pricey depending on when I get it and how many happen to be on the internet at that time. But I've got over $500 worth of guides coming soon. And you may say, that's insane. Why would you spend that much money on strategy guides? Well, it's going to finish my strategy guide collection. I had most of what I wanted. Over the years, I've given my collection away. I've got friends, like my friend Jeremy, every video game he's ever bought and had or was a gift at Christmas, he kept it. He was smart and hung on to them because he loved them and wanted to keep them. I gave them all away to friends and family. All my friends, I had friends that were car mechanics. They didn't have a lot of money. They were kind of poor, and they loved video games, but they just couldn't afford to buy new ones. So I said, here, dude, kick them down 4 or 5 games. I gave my Commodore 64 and my entire collection to a friend of mine from Canada that really was broke, and him and his sister moved to America, were barely making it. He loved video games, and he loved that C64. Just to hear him tell me many hours he sunk into those and enjoyed it many years ago in the 90s was rewarding enough. I'm happy to. So if I have to rebuy a lot of these Super NES games or PlayStation 1 games, I'm fine with that. It costs what it costs. I did it. I felt good, and I would do it again, donating all my games and consoles away to others. And things of what comes around goes around. That's why I've had a wonderful array of people have come forward and given me wonderful gifts for my birthday or Christmas, or just random gifts to the channel. Here, Dean, I think you'd enjoy this video game. I'd like to, it meant something to me, you might like it. And I really appreciate those donations. It means a lot to me that people think that much about my channel or what I have to say to come forward with nice gifts like that. I appreciate and value every one of them, in which the spirit which they were given. But it's getting pricey, and I've had to take a really hard look at my collection. The guidebooks, now all of a sudden people are discovering strategy guides. Now that's a new thing, and those are going up. So, and I understand the prices are going to go up as things become more popular. Naturally, COVID, people staying home, they want to play. Oh, look, you know, I've got a PlayStation 2. I'd kind of like to go back and play a lot of my old favorites. I'm kind of nostalgic for now. And now the PS2 games are really shooting up in price. I've seen like double, triple in price just in the last year. Thank God I've got most of the PS2 games I want. I have maybe a dozen I'd like to get, probably 5 or 6 that I really would like to get out of those. It's getting very expensive. And so the guides were a big expense. I just had to spend, when I bought Red Dead Revolver from Rockstar back in mid-2000s, early 2000s, I bought that game the day it came out with the strategy guide. It was like $15 at Best Buy or whatever when I bought it with the game. Went through the game and loved that game. It's a very unique game. I like the music better in Revolver than I do in Red Dead Redemption. That came, you know, years later. It's very arcadey, a strange combination of Japanese animation, but yet an American West theme. It's a strange, kind of cool game. But the strategy guide apparently was a very low print run. I didn't know. So my friend Jeremy, you know, he has access to over 4,000 strategy guides to this one connection alone. He goes, I'll see if I can look for it. There's a chance maybe I'll find it. Well, he started looking around. He goes, Dean, you're going to have to get this one on eBay. It's going for a lot of money now. I go, what do you mean a lot? It's like over $100. I go, what, $100 for Red Dead Revolver? He said, at least. They're just not very many made, and they're very expensive. But one night he called me. He said, dude, there's one for $76 with free shipping. He says it's in good condition. What do you think? I know it's a lot of money. I said, get it. Jump on it. If I don't get this one, then I'm going to have to pay $100 or $120 later. So that was my most expensive guide, and the next shipment was this $76. And it's actually, it looks like mint condition. After we committed to buying it, we could take a closer look at the pictures. It's in very good shape. Again, I don't care if they're a little worn or dog-eared, you know, the corners or pages or little tears in them, or if someone highlighted some things in it. It doesn't bother me at all. I just want the guide. I really like to look through them, and I do use the guides as much as possible, looking for collectibles, and I like the artwork and the maps and all that stuff. So for me, the strategy guides are a higher priority than someone else that were looking for Super NES games or PlayStation 1 games, let's say. You know, I got other friends that love Emulation and the Raspberry Pi deals and the what do they call those? Shields or Carts or whatever the hell they're called. They're that you can play all the games and punch in the thing, the cartridges, and it has all the ROMs in it. There's a lot of neat technology that's preserving our legacy of games, and I'm all for that. I'm researching more of that. You know, I'm not the biggest techie guy, but I appreciate that people are finding ways to keep these games alive so that maybe you can't afford a $200 original PlayStation game, but now you can play it through emulation for a lot cheaper and have a good time. So I'm working on that and kind of studying that. You know, I've got a modded PlayStation 2 and a couple modded Xboxes. I want to consider modding one of my PlayStation 1s where I can play a lot more PlayStation 1 games, as some of those are getting really expensive. And I've still got a bunch, maybe 15, I'm guessing, 12 to 15 PS1 games I still want to add to my collection. Some of them are very expensive, and they're going up more and more all the time. Now, we got this new thing called the WATA, or WATA. I don't know what the hell the acronym is for, but they're putting these little, encasing the games in plastic tombs of this, looks like it's in an ice cube or like a behind glass in a museum or something. And they're finding these rare, perfect condition, factory sealed games, you know, and now they're worth, you know, $1,000 for this PlayStation 1 game. Just crazy amounts of money. Crazy amounts of money. I saw a factory sealed Mountain Dew original Xbox, which is high on my list to get. And sadly, I won't be able to afford them now. Why? Because they're about $650 to $1,500 used. There's one in mint condition for $9,999 for 10 grand, factory sealed. This is what's happening because of resellers are now jumping in on the market. And you may say, well, what's the big deal? So there's guys that buy games and want to resell them. We've always had that. I've got a couple of good friends of mine that buy, go out and they'll hit the thrift stores and get games, and they look for games that they like, but they'll see like a Halo 1 and 2 for $2 each or something. They know they can sell that for $8 or $10 or $12 on eBay. So they'll pick up a couple, or maybe a Jade Empire they got for $3, and they know they can get, $12 for it, or 15 or whatever on eBay. And that kind of helps to fuel their collection so they can afford to go after the games that they want to get, So they might make $65 here and, $25 there, here and there, and by buying a game that they know could go up, and they're right there. They can buy it dirt cheap. It's not going to cost them anything. They can turn. Maybe they got doubles. Maybe they bought a lot, and they've got 12 doubles they don't need. So they get. And for me, what I do is I usually just give them to friends. I ask all my friends, "Do you have this game? Do you have this game?" I just asked my friend Jeremy. I said, because I'm getting senile apparently. I bought a couple of this exact same guides. I used to have a perfect memory, but it's not as good as it used to be. So I bought a couple of strategy guides and then 2 copies of Tomb Raider trilogy for the PlayStation 3. So it's like, I'm going through my collection. Why do I have 2 Tomb Raider trilogy games? So now I could sell that on eBay and maybe get $10 or $15 or $20, but to me, I have much more joy giving it to a friend that doesn't have the game that would like it. I know Jeremy didn't have that for his PlayStation 3 collection. He's got everything else, so it's hard to find him something he doesn't have. So I run it by, dude, do you have this game? I'll ask my friend Phil quite often, Phil, do you have this game? Are you looking for this? Oh yeah, well here, I'll send it to you. I found out I had a couple extras, whatever. So that's what I like to do. And not everyone has to do that. And again, I'm not taking anything away from anyone that wants to buy a lot of games and then sell the extra ones that they don't want, on eBay or whatever. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But we have a whole new group of people which are resellers. There's this guy, I usually don't like to drop names, but I'll mention him because a lot of people have heard of him, and then you can even check it out yourself, a guy called the Phoenix Reseller. I think it's Phoenix Reselling or Phoenix Reseller. And he's just, all of his videos are about just hunting down, going to and these guys will travel to different states, and they'll go to all the big cities and all the best retro game stores, and they will just suck dry like a Hoover vacuum every valuable game there is there. Not because they want the games for themselves or for a collection, which I could see, I guess, going to all that length, but because they know they can hold on to it, corner the market, buy everything up, and sell them for big bucks. There's one guy that's buying like every GTA game you can get for the PlayStation 2 and Xbox. He's got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of copies because he wants to corner the market, and then he can dump them on there for $56 each, or who knows what, or $100, whatever. There's another guy that has like 275 original Xboxes. What's the matter, dude? You're not happy with 3 or 4 of them? You got to have hundreds of them? But they're just obsessed with buying them and then hoarding them and selling them. It really is a very selfish, narcissistic act, I think, to buy things just for the sole purpose of just making money. And I'm a capitalist. I'm not a socialist. I am not against capitalism. But there's a difference between capitalism and being greedy. There's a big difference. And I don't like to see that. I've been through all of this with the car market, with the muscle cars, back in the late 80s, well into the 90s. I had a lot of very valuable cars that are now 6-figure cars. My 70 RT Challenger is $125,000 now. Would have been nice to have kept it. Now, I only paid $2,700. That's like someone looking at a video game. Yeah, this video game's $800 now. And yeah, I remember buying it for $20 back in 2001. It's kind of like that. And I watch guys do this, the same thing that this WADA, they're doing with the games. Oh, this is the perfect game. This is worth it now. So everyone thinks their stuff is gold now. Oh, I'm going to go out and just rape every single thrift store, every goddamn pawn store. I'm going to just take and rape and pillage. everything I can get, and I'm going to make a fortune, you know. And this is this selfish mindset that I'm seeing. That's what I take issue with. Phoenix Reseller guy did a video. I sold my wife's car so I could buy more games to sell. And it shows him out there trying to screw over people to sell his car and get the maximum amount of money. It shows him trying to sell this, frankly, car. It's not worth very much money, but he found someone gullible enough to give him a lot more for it than, frankly, it was worth. And then he takes the money and then goes down and grinds guys to buy up their collections and lots and just rape and pillage everything in sight so he can try to make money. So a lot of younger collectors and people that maybe they were even gamers, and they watch these types of videos, which are increasingly more and more of these channels on YouTube, it seems. And they're saying, well, and this guy's like, I just made $276 just in one day from just taking these 5 games and tripling my money on them, you know. So then other people are like, hey, I want to do that. I'm going to quit my job. I can make more money doing this. So now you've got not only people, it's bad enough I have to go out and I'm going shoulder to shoulder with other people looking to augment their collections, which I respect them and I like that. I wish I could go out every day and hit up all these places. I don't have the time for that. So the time I hit them up, they're just drained. There's nothing left. There's very little left. And I have to it's what I've been kind of looking for. I guess I'll buy this for $15 or whatever, or $8. And so I had a couple more of the collection, but it's not really something that I want because all the good ones are taken. And I have to wonder if it's not just resellers just good. In fact, my friend Jeremy says, yeah, this one big reseller he knows, he went to your city in Boise and he just drained him dry of all of the good games that they had back before a lot of people knew what these games were worth. That's what I take issue with. So a lot of these people, they see these influencers on YouTube and, if he can make $1,500 a day or a week or whatever, I want to do it. So now you get everyone. So now you're just not competing with just retro collectors. You're competing with people out there to just suck dry every well there is for greed, to hoard and hang on to and to put on eBay for $1,500 or $900 for a PlayStation 2 game. And so you're watching these like hyper-inflated prices. Like they're trying to see how much they can get for the game. I'm going to ask not just 100, I'm going to ask 175 for it. Maybe I'll get it. And they put it up there, and some guy looks one day, and maybe he's got the money, and it looks like it's in really good shape. Yeah, I'll give him 175 for it. At least I won't have to look for that one anymore and check it off his list. So then they get excited, and then they go out there and think they can make more money. And so this tapeworm that just keeps consuming them with greed, they're parasites. These people are eaten alive with the worms of reselling greed. That's what it's all about. To me, it's not even the gaming community. This is another thing that's parasitically coming into the gaming community and acting like it's one of us and then just consuming everything out there. And you don't have to look any further than your Facebook groups and on Twitter and other social media. Again, I'm off social media because I'm nauseated by it. I don't want to see it. My friend Jeremy takes pictures of what he sees in his groups and the greed. And now there's people, they see he has a complete North American Xbox collection. I want a North American Xbox collection. In fact, I want 2 of them, And now there's a guy out there who has one, or I guess he's trying to get one, but now it's like, I'm going to get them all. I want them all sealed. I'm going to get a complete North American Xbox. You know what those games cost? Sealed now? Sealed games are insanely expensive because of this WADA thing, which is just ridiculous. I saw, again, what happened with the muscle cars and the auctions. They take one pristine car and they way overinflate the market. Now everyone with an old car in their garage thinks they're going to get rich. And then we had guys that were going out in the wrecking yards and destroying. If they couldn't buy it and steal it that day, they would take a hammer and smash the taillights of other cars because they didn't have the time to take them out. And they didn't want anyone else getting it. That way they could corner the market. Here, I got by with the last 6 69 Charger taillights, and I'm selling them for $2,300 a piece, used, with cracks in them. And they would make sure that they would vandalize and destroy things that they didn't have time to take just simply because they didn't want someone else coming in on their market. This is what destroyed the car market. This is why I get out of classic muscle car restoration, especially with Chryslers, because I saw some extremely unscrupulous pirates in it that frankly destroyed the hobby for me to where I thought I was going to literally do some jail time by what happened. I got ripped off on a car. I traded a car for another car, plus a motor, all the stuff, thousands. It'd be worth so much money today. The guy took it all and then never produced, never gave me the car, screwed me out of a 1970 Challenger. I really lost my shirt on it. And I bought all the parts through year one to lovingly restore it, new rims, every part. The steering wheel alone that I bought to restore that car is worth between $3,000 and $5,000 alone just for the used steering wheel today. This is the same thing will happen with video games. You mark my word. You think they're expensive now? You think original Xbox or PlayStation 2 games or GameCube games are expensive now? Give it time. The greed tapeworm is going to take over and infest more and more of these people that see these YouTube influencers reselling games and how I made $3,000 a week sitting at home on my ass on the computer buying and selling games, or whatever they're doing, however they're doing it. Or I, hawk my wife's car. What about your wife? Fuck her. I got the money. That matters. That matters more. It's like, that's all I care about is the dough, the money they can make greedily. Fuck her. She can take the bus. I just made $2,500 on these video games. I can't see it. I can't understand how they can sleep at night. And they're destroying the retro collecting market. So it's hard for guys like me to go out and get the last couple strategy guides or the last, dozen PlayStation 1 games. Some of those tall box PlayStation 1 games are just, they're going up now. And what's sad is that there's more and more games I really wanted bad from my collection that I have to cross them out. I can't. I can't pay $300 for, 2006 Coast to Coast Outrun. I can't. I have it digitally. I think in one of my modded Xboxes, I think my friend Steve took his copy, because he had one, bought it years ago when they were cheap, and he installed it for me. I think, though, that I gave that one to my friend Cameron of Industrial Gamers, so he actually has a very expensive, desirable game now in that modded console. I installed like a dozen of my favorite racing games, and the one that I gave him, and that was one of them. So I don't even know if I have that game even digitally anymore. But I do have the Xbox Live Arcade Outrun, which is the identical high-res remastered version, frankly, of the Coast to Coast. So I've got the good one, and I can have an even better one to play on my 360 versus the original Xbox. So it all works out. I got the other one, Forza Horizon 2, for the original Xbox 360. When I got that game was dirt cheap. I bought it, for whatever it was new. Now those are going for big bucks because it was a very low print run. And again, the people that buy them, a lot of them, they'll never play the game. They just want it because it's a desirable game. That's it. So you got all these desirable games. It's like someone gave me or sold me at Dimples. I went there, I was buying a bunch of games one day, and they go, "Oh, dude, we just got in a copy of that Sega Dragoon Orta game, which someone sold me. I think I paid $12 for it, for a perfect copy, clean, with a box, no scratches, and good copy of it." And I go, "What's the deal with this?" "Oh, dude, this is a real desirable game. You have to have this for your Xbox collection." So for whatever dumb reason, I bought it without even knowing anything about the game. And I went home and I read things. Oh yeah, it looks like a cool game. It's not something, frankly, I would really trip all over myself to play. So later I had a friend that, "Oh God, I want that game." "Oh, here, dude, you can have it." "Really?" "Oh yeah, it does." It's $12. It's like, have yours lunch on me. I don't care. I don't need to sell it. Now I could have just sold it for $30 and double my money on eBay, but I don't care about that. I really don't. My time is valuable. I don't want to sit and spend all my time on eBay selling things and having to go to UPS store and ship them out, and then the people complain because it's not as perfect as they thought. I'd rather give the game away, frankly, than to try to make a couple bucks off it. But that's me. And again, I take nothing away from my friends that buy the big lots or buy a few extra games to sell to help fuel their collection and help them to afford their collections. I understand. I get it. It's not something I would do, but I validate your reasons for doing it. So anyway, that's kind of my spiel on this. I'm going to have to cut way back. I only spend 5% of my personal net income on my entertainment, which is DVDs and Blu-rays and video games and video game related items. So all my money goes into savings. That's why I've got a pretty stout savings. I'm salting away for a rainy day, which we could have real soon with this economy. It's not getting good. So again, friends, I would caution you that be careful, with spending money right now. Certainly go after the things that bring you pleasure and bring you a little happiness. We're going through tough times. I understand some people just don't even want to watch the news. They just want to play a video game and put it all. And that's really the concept of Escape to Gaming to my show here, is it's leaving your worries behind and doing the drudgery of life in a hard, tough physical job like I do, which I do enjoy that process, but I'm just getting a little old for it. And it's taken its toll on me. So I get home, I can't wait to play a game. Sometimes I'm too tired to play them. We were visiting my father-in-law in the hospital, several nights a week, and on the weekends helping both of my in-laws that both moved and bought homes here in town, and one's in good health and the other's not, but they both need help unpacking and hanging pictures and organizing their garage and stuff like that. So I've been very busy with family and work lately. So sorry again for not being on YouTube more. I'm going to try to be back more. This is one video response that I'm doing for a fellow. I'm going to leave a link to his video below. He's got a new channel. It's this Pac-Man guy, Pac-Man Mania. I can't remember the name of the channel, but I'll leave a link to it below. I just discovered it recently, and I'm not sure through who. Great production values. He does some good meaty vlogs. He's in the process of moving himself to a better state for a better life, and he's going to transfer his game room to it, so he's excited about that. But anyway, dude, if you watch this, I love your video. He covered a lot of this with the WADA games and resellers and how it really is kind of destroying the video game collecting hobby that we all love. I mean, gaming is fun, but collecting video games is fun. It's fun when you go into a game store. I was in a pawn store. It's funny, I never go in one. The guy that I'm with, there are a lot of guys who are into guns. So my guy I'm working with, he's a really cool guy. We become good friends. He's like, hey, for lunch, you want to go down to this big pawn store down the street? Oh, okay, yeah, I haven't been to a pawn store in ages. Went in there, we're looking at the guns and the AR-15s and all the stuff he's looking to buy his daughters, some hunting rifles. And they had a bunch of games in there. They had a shitload of Xbox 360s and Xbox Ones, and there was one super slim PS3, a little more than I wanted to spend, but I kept it in mind because it's in really good shape. There's a nice, like an indigo blue GameCube for $119. It's like even the pawn stores kind of know what this stuff is going for now, and the prices are even getting up there on that stuff. But there were some really good deals on PS4 games and Xbox One games, so I may go back there. And it makes me curious. I might take like a weekend just for the hell of it, for shits and giggles, and kind of hit all. We have a lot of huge pawn stores here in town. I don't know why, but there's a lot of them here. And if there's anything like what I saw in that one yesterday, there could be other video games. I might just hit them all just one time just to check them out. And maybe I'll find a game or two or a console that I can add to my collection. But I'm trying to be careful with my money right now because things are really getting tight and the inflation is going to get worse and worse. And we're going to have a lot less disposable income to buy the things like games that we like. So, which is, again, one of the reasons why I get so pissed when I see guys that are greedily just buying everything in sight and reselling it. And you get a lot of people that it's a very competitive thing with the buying, every console variant, every controller variant, and you can get carried away with that competitive spirit. And meanwhile, you're taking an awful lot of money out of your savings and even checking account, which you should be saving and hanging on to buy a lot of stuff that it's like, it makes a nice Instagram post and you're a hero for a day when, hey, look what I found, and I bought this, I just spent $1,100 for this rare Xbox One variant or whatever. But, be careful. You got families, you got responsibilities, saving money for rainy days is important. So I don't want to piss in anyone's Cheerios or throw a wet blanket on anybody's hobbies. If you like collecting, controllers or console variants or every GTA memorabilia there is. I mean, people like their little fetishes and collecting things that they like to collect. For me, it's strategy guides. For someone else, it's like, why the hell would you want to collect strategy guides? We're all different, but that's what's cool about the hobby. We can all enjoy it for our own reasons, but every aspect of the hobby I'm seeing getting infiltrated with the tendrils of these resellers. And I was there yesterday. I saw a bunch of guys looking at video game stuff at the pawn shop. And it's like, are these guys gamers or are they just resellers? You have to wonder. So anyway, that's my rant on this. I'm going to be back with a couple more, got 2 more video responses. on certain types of collections and top 10 favorite games in certain generations of consoles, whatever. I'll be doing those soon. So I hope you enjoyed this, guys. I'll try to be back every week from here on out. I really do enjoy these vlogs, and I miss all of you and all of your comments and your kind support. It really means the world to me. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy your games and your game collections.